Welcome back, everybody. It's Joseph here for Zenny62 with possibly a leak from episode 5 of Loki. Now, what I'll show you may blow your mind, and those of you who are avid comic book fans of Loki might know some information already I'm going to reveal. So as we learned in episode 4, both Owen Wilson, Mobius, and Tom Hiddleston, Loki, were both pruned in this episode, which raised the questions: did they die or were they sent off to a different timeline? And the answer is yes, which is what we found out at the end of episode 4 when we see Loki laying and he thinks he's dead, but obviously he's not. He's sent to a different timeline. So before I actually show you the photos of the supposed leak scene, I will say that a lot of these suspected spoilers were actually released by Marvel inadvertently in trailers for upcoming episodes, and they released them too early. Some international trailers had this similar scene in it, and I will begin to show you 2 pictures of interest for episode 5. So this is actual screenshot of the actual scene that I extricated from the scene. And what I wanted to show you is that he looks pretty demented or angry or determined. And it looks like he's driving in a car. And proof of that is this next photo. And in this next photo, you do see that he's driving in a desert. And once you expand that picture, it actually is Egypt, and he's driving right in front of the famous Sphinx of Egypt. So here's where it gets interesting for me. I'm a novice with the comic books with Marvel, but what I do know, and this references picture that you're seeing right in front of you, is that in comic book lore, Nathaniel Richards is a 31st century scientist who travels back into time and takes on different personas. And one of those personas is Kang the Conqueror. And when he travels back into time, one of the villains, he takes different villains in different times and meets different Marvel characters, but he does go back into Egypt, becomes a pharaoh. And so the question is, Kang the Conqueror, Nathaniel Richards, is somehow a descendant of Reed Richards of the Fantastic Four. So is this all a tie-in for the introduction or the eventuality of the introduction of the Fantastic Four, and specifically Reed Richards? Again, reiterating that this picture reflects what's possibly going on in Egypt, and we find that the 31st century scientist Nathaniel Richards went back. Nathaniel Richards took on different personas, became different villains throughout Marvel history. But let me show you something interesting hiding in this picture, and this is what it is. A time variant clock. So how did this ancient Egyptian relief, who shows obviously a Marvel character posing as a pharaoh, and we scroll right under where his feet are to the left, and we see one of those time variant authority clocks with multiple hands, which gives more credence and more interest that Kang the Conqueror is the timekeeper, and he is the power or the authority behind the TVA. At least that's my suspicion at the time. So we're to believe that Kang the Conqueror, the 34th century scientist Nathaniel Richards, has possessed different villains in different timelines in the Marvel Universe. He could very well be the timekeeper in the TVA, but also, does this Loki series introduce the possibility of the Fantastic Four? Now, whether or not we will see that in this series, maybe not, but it's going to be a huge setup for the future of Marvel Universe. Keep it here on Zenny62. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep watching us on YouTube.